I'm Jake Hoffman.
And this is Moderately Outraged.
So do you guys remember when Governor Andrew Cuomo won an Emmy for his 111 appearances on television while he was leading the country through the coronavirus pandemic? Yeah, well, it turns out he actually really deserved the Emmy because he lied every day for 111 appearances on television while he faked all of the COVID stats, misled reporters, threw old people in nursing homes, and at the same time was covering up sexual assault. So, again, great actor, Andrew Cuomo. He deserves the Emmy. But finally, the media has decided to take this on as a real story, even after months of us talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've been talking about this like every month for about a year now.
Yeah.
But finally, the media has dropped the hammer on this entire story, at least as hard as the liberal media can.
It's a floppy hammer.
You know, for him. But, what has been, going on is that, quite frankly, Andrew Cuomo should be indicted for manslaughter for all of the elderly people in New York that he killed. And I will make the case that the media should be indicted as a co-conspirator. And the reason why is because the liberal media had been sitting there praising him month after month, saying, oh my gosh, look at Ron DeSantis down in Florida killing all these people when there was no evidence to back that up, and saying we should really be following Cuomo's great leadership. Look at how fantastic he is. He deserves an Emmy for his award-winning work leading the country through coronavirus. So the media had been gassing him up and telling him how good of a job he was doing, when meanwhile he's killing people. He knew he was killing people, and if the media, they're journalists. Their job is to uncover these things. So they either were unwitting co-conspirators because they were just so bad at their jobs and such idiots that they just let him keep doing that and just kept praising him because he was a Democrat and the guy that they liked.
And a presidential nominee potentially in the future.
Yeah. Or they were knowingly co-conspirators to manslaughter because they just said, hey, we like Andrew Cuomo. We don't want any bad press about him, so we're going to keep telling good stories despite the fact that people are dying at a higher rate than anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, and Democrats will continue to make excuses for this. They'll never do something like actually indict or arrest Andrew Cuomo, but there is actual investigations going on. Even Democrats and Republicans in New York have called for Andrew Cuomo to get an independent investigation. Now, obviously,
called for his resignation. Actually,
yeah, I mean, he should resign based on the fact that he failed. Like, he's number 50 out of 50 on how he handled the entire pandemic. I mean, he should just do it on straight incompetence. But if that's not bad enough, again, he was looking at the stats. Everybody knew this thing killed old people more. I mean, everybody knew you shouldn't put old people back in nursing homes. Everyone knew you should quarantine. I mean, he made every wrong decision, and it almost seems purposefully. It really does. And to your point, it seems like the media just continue to cover it up. And it's the same way that if they knew about a murder, if they knew about people's plans to murder, they just continue to cover it up.
And say, hey, but they're saying all the right things, which is the epitome of liberalism. It's the epitome of just leftist behavior, where they say all the right things on camera, but when it comes to real policy making, they do all the wrong things or really just do nothing at all. It's like Joe Biden coming out there and saying, we're going to get you, we're going to get you your checks. We're not going to be in all these wars, and then we're dropping bombs on Syria, and you still haven't gotten your checks yet. So it's the same thing, and it's just, different governor, same Democratic policies that you've come to know and expect.
And the thing is, as Republicans, we complain about this all the time, right? Democrats never have to face the consequences for their actions. And what's happening even in those media stories in the New York Times and some of these other liberal publications that are saying things like, oh, well, should we really even hold Andrew Cuomo to the same standards? Because Republicans don't really hold themselves to those standards. I mean, yeah, now that the Me Too stuff is starting to come back at them, and the whole, believe all women thing before you even get your day in court is kind of backfiring on the same allegations number one, Joe Biden, happened during his campaign. I mean, nobody cares about his sexual assault allegations anymore. I mean, they completely threw that out the window. Now, their favorite governor, all of a sudden, multiple sexual assault allegations. and now they're starting to say, well, maybe we shouldn't hold them to the same standard because Republicans don't handle their.
They're getting their brooms out and just sweeping it right under the rug because that's what they do best. And you know what I'll say? There is one Democrat that actually did get held accountable, and that was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton got held accountable for cheating on his wife at the end of the day and lying to the American people. Andrew Cuomo killed people and then lied to the American people. And I mean, I really hope he does get held accountable. And then on top of that, he tried to essentially obstruct justice by indicating that he wanted, essentially, a hand-picked source to investigate, to lead up the investigation.
But what I think is important here is that he's facing multiple things, and it took, killing grandmas was not enough. You couldn't just do that. You had to have multiple sexual assault allegations all at the same time. He had some other creepy videos that came out where he just had some weird stuff about like eating all of the sausage to some girl, but it was a little strange. I won't use that in court against him compared to some of the other things that are out there. But the fact that the Democrats have just dropped the Me Too movement. I mean, again, there are a few Democrats out there that have stuck to their guns. They realize how hypocritical they would be if they didn't believe all women. But the majority, again, the mainstream media is sitting here and they are making excuses for why maybe that isn't the best idea. And all of us as Republicans are sitting back after years of talking about this kind of thing and being like, yeah, we told you it was a problem. We told you it was a problem when you were doing it to Kavanaugh. We are telling you that it was a problem when you're manipulating stats and doing terrible policy with lockdowns and everything at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. I mean, we have been telling you, and now finally maybe someone will face some retribution if we talk about it enough and we share it enough and we get the message out there, because for some reason liberals, independents, they don't get this news. They do not get the news that we hear all the time. I've been saying this for a while now. Give any story in the entire country, any political story, people on the right will have heard the Republican side of it, the conservative side of it, and they will have heard the liberal side of it because the news, they can't avoid it. No matter how much you listen to right-wing media, you know the points that the left are making on any given story. People on the left get one source of news. They never hear anything from the right because it just doesn't exist in most of their circles. So videos like this need to continue to be shared, and it needs to get put into the entire stratosphere of the media, because the more we talk about it, the more public pressure mounts, and the more that maybe somebody will actually do something about Andrew Cuomo. And again, hopefully Governor Newsom gets recalled as well, too, which they're finally working on. But we need to do something about Cuomo.
And at the end of the day, what this all stems from is, and the reason why the media continued, why the media was a co-conspirator in these manslaughters, and why they just kept praising Cuomo, is because they live in a world where they need to have a sense of moral superiority. That is what the left thrives off of. They thrive off the I'm better than you because I'm listening to the authority figures. I'm doing exactly whatever Trump wasn't doing. I'm, whatever, is the woke thing to do. They get off on that.
I have had conversations
but they get off on doing that, and they get off on, pointing out to you, if you are not doing that, even if you're on the left, if you're not doing exactly what is the wokest thing at the moment, you are now, lesser than. They are more morally superior than you, and they can hold their heads up high and sit on their high horse, and then just sit down and call you names. That's all they do.
And it's crazy because when the conversations that I have with my liberal friends that did make it out of the house, they like to pretend that they haven't gone out of the house in like a year, right? They're all hiding how much they've actually done in the real world.
SNL did a sketch about it.
They did do a sketch on it because that is the reality of what's going on the left right now, is that it's basically a competition to who can follow the rules the most. And it's like the total opposite on the conservative side. We're just a bunch of like rebels who are going to lead an entire armada of pirates and Gasparilla in a couple months. So,
let's just stop for a moment and think about how ironic that is, that really the liberal movement came from rebelling. It was the counterculture that rebelled against conservatives in the 1960s. And the entire conservative culture, they were just rebelling against it. They were the counterculture. And now it's almost like conservatives have become the counterculture, because the liberals are the mainstream. They are everywhere, and it's become to the point where they are now oppressive. They oppress anybody who has a different style of thought or is a free thinker.
And you are an absolute radical if you read your kid Dr. Seuss at night and you give them a Mr. Potato Head and call it Mr. Potato Head. I mean, you are an absolute radical in this country, and so somehow we're counterculture for saying, like, that's okay. And you should be able to, I don't know, walk outside and breathe freely. So this is the arguments that we have to make. But what is happening now around the world, I can't pinpoint why we finally made it to this point. Maybe they've just decided we're far enough away from Trump at this point. But it really feels to me like this whole New World Order, this great reset, is finally letting go of some of the restrictions. I don't know what's causing it, but it seems like now all of a sudden that they decided Joe Biden got in. That's number one. That's the obvious one. They dropped all the ways that they count positivity rates in the country. So now COVID cases have all dropped. We talked about that a lot on the show before. But that's one piece of it, right? So they're dropping all the COVID numbers on purpose. Then what's happening now too is all of these other states are starting to open back up because there's enough pressure. It's been a year. We've almost gone an entire year from 2 weeks to stop the spread. So that's happening. And then on top of it, we also have this thing going on where, again, media is starting to come around a little bit on some of the things that they've been saying for the past year. And they're easing up. And I don't know why it's happening, but for whatever reason, we're starting to regain the sense of normalcy the more that we push and push and push.
I really do think it's because Joe Biden's president, and so now they can sit there and say, I think if Trump was still president, they would absolutely say, no, we need to stay locked down, everything's unsafe. But Joe Biden's president, so now they can give him the credit that he ended the coronavirus, and we can all move on and move forward with our lives. I think that's really the big deal.
Yeah, and down here in Florida, again, Ron DeSantis needs an apology. He's been asking for it, we've been asking for it. If you're going to start to criticize Andrew Cuomo, again, it's like two opposite governors doing opposite things, one doing the complete wrong thing, one doing the completely right thing on how to handle coronavirus, and then the media just got it 100% 180 wrong.
Yeah.
On it. And they need to come out and say it more. They need to grovel at Ron DeSantis' feet, to be honest. They need to come back and they need to beg forgiveness, right? I want to see, he needs reparations. I mean, they really need to apologize. They need to apologize to us down here in Florida. I've been saying it. We are leading the country out of the pandemic. We have been leading them out from the Super Bowl. We've been leading them out the entire year, and they need to apologize. The mainstream media needs to apologize to us.
The mainstream media that's so heavily based in New York and LA love to make Florida the butt of all their jokes. That's the Florida man. Florida man's just crazy, and it's just wild stuff going on down here. When in reality, we're the only state that really got it right. And, the media, I feel like they are gritting their teeth when they are looking at these stats that not everybody in the state died after the Super Bowl. They said 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, everyone's going to be dead. And it didn't happen.
Yeah, we've had to beg for apologies here as well. We've had in the national media, again, gritting their teeth. The Tampa Bay Times gritting their teeth and saying, well, I guess the Super Bowl wasn't a super spreader that we... And then they still tried to connect a 50 cases to it or something like that. I mean, it is absurd. Again, they are tearing hamstrings, stretching to make us look like the worst state in the entire country.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd. I mean, this entire COVID thing, if it has taught you nothing, it should teach you that sometimes authority isn't always right. A lot of times it's wrong. And especially what was going on with COVID. I've been saying this since the beginning. Twitter was running the show. It was literally the cities that were getting locked down were the cities that felt the pressure from the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, and Twitter's still putting pressure on people. They're criticizing people like Governor Abbott over in Texas for opening up. You can still wear a mask. No one's telling you have to take off your mask when you go outside. You can sit inside. You can wear your mask everywhere you go. You can wear 4 masks for the rest of your life if you want to, but you don't have to do it anymore. And now all of a sudden, people are starting to wake up. And again, it's a slow process, but we're getting there. And let me tell you something right now. One of the things that I've realized since the beginning of after the election, after the inauguration, all of that stuff, the Republican base is fired up. We are fired up. There's more activity in the past couple of months. I've never seen like this after an election. Most of the time after an election, people kind of die off. from politics. They're like, I'm done with it. But Republicans right now, we're taking to the streets. We are getting involved. We are making groups. We are building coalitions. We are doing all of the hard work that needs to go in to taking the country back, because we realize how close we are to just absolutely losing it when you see every day when you see another executive order go in. It's actually encouraging. If there is a bright spot in this country right now, it is how involved you are getting on a local level if you are a conservative.
Yeah.
And even if you're independent, you just don't like what's happening right now.
Yeah, essentially, conservatives aren't a bunch of keyboard warriors where we sit behind our computers and our phones and just tell everybody how they should live while we sit around and do nothing about it. Whereas that's what the left does. The left likes to tell everybody how to live, how much better they are than everybody. And you know why that is the left goes off of emotion. They go solely off of emotion, not logic, not reason, not rationale. It's emotion. It's how they feel. So let me just make my argument to the left.
Yeah, we do a lot of logic-based thinking on this show, and a lot of our conservative-minded people like all of the logic we bring because it makes, sense. But that's not how you win over liberals. So we're just going to talk about emotions.
So let me speak to the left right now. On a basis of emotion, Governor Andrew Cuomo killed your grandma. He killed your grandma, and then he got on TV and he lied about it. The media backed him up and allowed him to keep doing it, and they supported him doing it. And on top of that, to top it all off, the icing on the cake, he was also sexually assaulting women.
And those women are being ignored.
Yeah. Is that enough to make you feel like something should be done about Cuomo? Because if it's not, you're a hypocrite. Because you would, if this was Donald Trump, if this was Ron DeSantis, you would be outraged, and I would see nothing but posts about it on Twitter. But in reality, right now, I see more about the Cat in the Hat, or not the Cat in the Hat, but the other Dr. Seuss books and whatever nonsense it was.
We can't even go into it because it's so absurd.
No, but that's my point. It's just that I hear more about that on Facebook and on Twitter than I do about Governor Cuomo killing people and being responsible for deaths and having been wrong about how we handled COVID this entire time. So I hope to anybody on the left that's out there watching that I appeal to your sense of emotion. And if I'm coming off a little bit smug, again, it's because I kind of am, because I've been saying this for, a year. So it's just so frustrating that it's only now that we're it's finally getting, some sort of due process. But hopefully, this is why we're moderately outraged.
This is why we're moderately outraged this week. If this episode made you moderately outraged, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you to Conservative News Today, American Wire, BizPac Review, Tampa Bay Young Republicans, Florida Federation Young Republicans, everybody that broadcast our show all over the place. And I am going to continue to make more announcements about this, but we are going to save Gasparilla. If you don't know what Gasparilla is, it is our pirate Mardi Gras down here in Tampa, but we will be saving Gasparilla. Our friends over at Conservative Grounds, Trumparilla is happening. You are going to hear a lot more about it over the next month. Get involved if you're in Tampa. If you have a boat and you can get to Tampa, come join our armada while we save our favorite tradition in this city.
Yes. So, also make sure you follow us at Moderately Outraged on Instagram for more updates and more stories.
And grab a Save Gasparilla t-shirt.
Yeah, definitely. We'll leave the links up for how you can buy those. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.
See ya.